everybody, and welcome to Everything Vaguely Paranormal. I'm Shelley Pruitt, and my partners in the paranormal, Mr. Blake Smith and Mr. Ryan Roberts. How are you this evening, gentlemen?
I'm good. I'm good. Cold, but good. As you can see, I've got my hoodie on. I'm just in my
I'm
room
telling you, Texas is
shivering.
having serious mood swings. Mother Nature needs a hug or something. I don't know
It does.
because I don't do cold. But anyway,
Freaking
guys,
pansy.
yeah, I know. Happy
Okay.
New
Tell
Year!
me.
Welcome back to the first show of 2025, and we want to do something that we haven't done before. We decided that we would allow someone to tell us our fates for 2025 and hear some of her stories. You never know. You never know. So why not? This is the year of saying yes, right? We're going to say
Yes.
yes. We're going to
Sure,
try new
sure.
Sure.
things. I just made
Yes.
that collective decision for the team, just so you know. We're going to say yes to things this year that we may not have said yes to before. I might even say yes to something tonight. Maybe. I haven't
Uh
decided yet.
Oh
It's a
You
shit.
solid
might.
maybe at the moment. Yeah, because you know me, I don't get red.
That
But
will be
it's
a monumentous decision if you do that.
I haven't decided
Yeah.
yet, but I thoroughly trust the person that's our guest tonight. And
Absolutely.
I do too.
we met her at the Spirits in the Spring at Broadhead Manor when we went, and we all just immediately fell in love with her. I was standing there dancing, and she looked at me, and I go, "Hi, I'm Shelley." She goes, "Hi, I'm Deidre," and she gets up and starts to dance, and I'm like, "You are my girl right here. You're my girl." And it was
Right.
dance party all weekend with her. She's very
Mhm.
engaging. Whenever you stand next to her, you can just feel the warmth and the compassion and the caring that comes from her. So you feel you trust her immediately, and she's a genuinely good person. So let me tell you about our guest. She's Deidre Sanford, and she reads oracle cards. That's her specialty. She's a psychic medium and a holistic therapy practitioner. And then one I had never heard of before, which is called a trauma informed coach. We're gonna have to talk about that because, child, I got some issues. And she also has her group
You
that's
don't
Deidre
say.
and Friends. Yeah, who's leave me alone. She also has a Facebook page that's her business page. It's called Deidre and Friends, of which I believe all three of us are a member of.
Hmm.
And she's about to start a new podcast called Let's Talk Shift on the Sacred Spiral Network. And I did make sure I enunciated correctly, just like she told me to. So, anyway, gentlemen, let's go ahead and bring on our wonderful guest, Deidre Sanford. Deidre,
Hello,
hello,
hello.
Hey.
how are you?
I
I'm so
am
glad you could be here
fantabulous.
tonight.
How are you?
We'll find out, won't we?
Oh, now come on. We might find out. I don't know. But welcome to 2025 and welcome to this meeting of the Mutual Admiration Society. You
Aw.
guys, you guys are amazing.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
thank
I am
you.
telling
You're
you,
very
I have been fortunate enough to, over the last couple of years, meet a lot of folks in this industry,
Hmm.
and you guys just stole my heart immediately.
Oh,
Aw.
well,
Thank
thank you.
you.
You
It
did.
will.
You did
It's-
us as well.
Aw, thanks. It will
I'm gonna
forever.
I'm gonna say that I remember looking at you like the first time, probably after you had the dance party with Shelly, and I was like, you and I are family. This is
Right.
it is what it is. So just get on board with it, you know.
Well, it's funny because I do say my Texas fam.
Aw.
I do when I'm talking about you guys now. I
Aw.
do have step family in Texas and Oklahoma,
Really?
but y'all are my Texas fam.
Aw.
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
we call you part of our northern family. So, how is
Yeah.
it up
Yes.
there? We're bitching about it being cold down here in Texas, but you're
Oh,
probably going whatever.
no, you know what? I get that it's relative. You know, I forgot
Mm.
how cold could be when I lived in Arkansas, but boy, you got iced in at one point when I was there. It
Oof.
was 32 today when I threw on my hoodie and my fleece and ran to the grocery store.
Hmm.
And I don't know, it's supposed to get down to like 16 or something tonight. I'm not going to
Oh
worry about
God,
it.
no. Hell no.
Me and the cats and the husband are all tucked in the house, safe and warm. We're not worried. We're not scared.
These two on this side of the screen, they're
Mm-mm.
like, oh shit, fuck this crap. You know, me, I'm over here. I thrive in this kind of weather. I'm like, bring it, let's do it.
Yeah, come talk to me when you're 16 feet, 16 inches deep with the damn snow on top of you. So.
Now, I've been in Tennessee when it snowed. I don't think I've been in Texas when it snowed. Do y'all handle it better in
No,
Texas?
the state
No.
shuts down because
God,
we
no.
we don't know what to do with it. We just know if we
Mhm.
wait for about 3 days, it'll be gone, and the sun will be
It's
right back out. So,
Right, and it'll
probably
be 70.
it's probably best when it shuts down because
yes,
you know I get it. There's a 4x4 and you can go anywhere and do anything you think. But if there's
you
ice
think.
under that snow, that's not don't do it.
We usually don't
No.
get snow. We usually get ice storms. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's enough about the weather. Let's talk about you, Deidre.
You know, I'm an open book.
Oh,
Yeah.
that could be
Ooh.
dangerous with the three of us.
Yeah.
Tell us let's start out. Let's tell them how you first realized that you had psychic abilities, because I'm of the opinion that if you have them, you kind of always know that you have them. It's just whether or not you acknowledge them and use them. So when
Interesting.
did you acknowledge that you had these?
I don't disagree with what you're saying. You kind of always have it. In fact, I am a believer that we all have
Mm-hmm.
abilities. We all come in with abilities. They're taught out of us by people who
Mhm.
don't know how to support it and
Mhm.
or society.
Mm-hmm.
So that said, I think my mediumship showed up before anything else. Speaking of traumatic childhoods, I don't remember a lot of my childhood.
Mhm.
I get glimpses. I get like, you know, it's almost like PTSD flashbacks, but I'm not going to go that far to say
Mhm.
that. But I remember some really fun things and I remember some not so things. And there's a whole lot of blank space. When I was, my mom married my stepdad and we moved to a new house. My cat is running around in the back.
That's all right.
And the first oddity was that a glass flew off the kitchen counter, but no one was in the kitchen.
Hmm.
I knew, but couldn't express because it historically hadn't been safe for me to speak my mind or express myself.
Mm-hmm.
I knew there was something really wonky about that. And we, believe it or not, we tried to debunk it, right? Because
Right.
none of us really know what we're doing, but how did that glass fall off the counter? And it didn't just fall off the counter, it flew into the kitchen off the counter.
Hmm.
No condensation on the glass, no condensation on the counter, and the counter was level. Who knows? But not too long after that, there was a back room to the house, which was an addition. So you could go down a short hallway, past the kitchen, to a doorway that went to the front of the house.
Mhm.
And that doorway did, in fact, have a door at the end of that short hall. And I walked my mom up to that doorway one time and I said, "Hey, Mom, you see those people over there? They're not here to hurt anybody."
And your mom's like,
Huh?
what people?
Mom's like, "Oh, okay." At least I imagine that's what she was like because I didn't remember that. She
Oh.
reminded me of it
Oh,
when I
wow.
visited them in their home in Arkansas. They were the
Mhm.
first owners of the home. It was a house built on spec that they bought. And there were things happening in that house.
Okay.
So I walked through I was sitting there with Mom. She had a ritual. She would sit on the floor on all fours, you know, like a cat, kind of in loafing position, and read at night. She had a bad back and it would help. And I was sitting near her. She is reading. We were kind of talking. And I said, "Mom, do you hear music?" "I'm so glad you said that. I hear music all the time when I'm sitting in this corner. And sometimes I can smell vanilla."
Hmm.
Okay, we don't know what the vanilla smell was, but what I later figured out was, or what we figured out that night was that it was the white noise from the heater, the furnace, the heat pump, that would filter the noise so that we could hear it. But we both heard it that night. And I'm dropping selenite on the floor.
Oh,
And-
you felt like you had to bring your selenite on to come on with us. That's probably
Well, no,
a good choice.
it's actually sitting on my cards. But,
Okay.
Oh, no.
but that was really probably the first time that I was aware.
Mhm.
Now, look, I'm living in Arkansas. Does anybody know how much unmined quartz there is in the ground in
Oh
Arkansas?
God.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I was 31 when I moved to Arkansas and kind of blew the doors open on everything. I was working in assisted living and I would all of a sudden in the middle of the day, I was right at the front door. I was the assistant administrator. So I saw everyone who came and went.
Mhm.
Family members would walk past my office or stop in my office and talk to me. And then I'd be like, "I don't understand why I'm so sad." These crazy mood swings. I thought I was losing my mind. And I really felt like I should go to the doctor. But I was
Mhm.
absolutely afraid that if I did, they'd throw me in the loony bin. I rented a home and I would get home from work and fall asleep in my recliner at 7:30, just walk in the house and done.
Mhm.
Wow.
And I'd wake up around, I'd fall asleep around 5:30. I'd wake up around 7:30, 8 o'clock. live my life and go to bed. Craziest stuff happened in that house. So I think that I really became aware. I became aware, and the moments in my early 30s,
Mm-hmm.
which is really strange because as I went through my training to certification, I realized that probably what happened is I didn't know what to do with the voice in my head. I had been gaslit forever when I said
Right.
stuff because
Mm-hmm.
claircog is my prominent one. So I just tucked it away and tried to ignore it. And at some point in my travels in the last 58 years, I went ahead and I took the deep dive into addiction. And as I went through the process of certification and relearning myself and doing some of my own healing work, I'm like, you know what? I was hiding from the voices in my head, among other things that had happened in this lifetime. But long answer, short question. So probably really didn't grab a hold of it until my early 30s.
Your early 30s. Okay.
Yeah.
And you said clear cognizant. Would you like to explain what that is for
Clear
anybody who doesn't
thinking.
understand?
Yeah. I just sometimes know stuff. Like on Christmas morning, we were getting ready to, I'm talking to Texas people. We're fixing to
Fixing to. Uh-huh.
go to my,
Fixing to, yeah, you're fixing it,
Uh-huh.
fixing to do stuff. Yeah.
go to my husband's aunt's for Christmas Day and making the salad to take with us. And all of a sudden I walked out of the kitchen. I looked at my husband and I said, okay, just for the record, one of his cousins who lives in Hawaii, he's coming in to surprise everyone and he's going to be there at Christmas. And he just kind of looked at me like, okay. I got to the house and I walked past that particular cousin once before I ever noticed he was there.
Huh.
So it still
Wow.
just pops in once in a while.
Right.
But yeah, so I just know stuff.
Going back to that house that y'all moved into, was it known as the haunted house on the block, or was it?
No.
Okay.
I got to be really good friends with the 3 girls who lived 2 houses away.
Mm-hmm.
And they told us shortly after we moved in that the prior gentleman who lived there had shot and killed his dogs and buried them in the backyard.
Oh.
Not just buried them in the backyard, but had also shot and killed the dogs in the backyard.
Oh.
And I
Wow.
think that was a lot for my 7-year-old brain to wrap itself around. But
Yeah.
I never, ever, ever felt alone or 100% comfortable in that house.
Mm.
Yeah, because if you're not nice to animals or old people or kids, yeah, you're probably not going to be nice in the afterlife.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think he was a very nice person, and I'm real sure he was an alcoholic. Because one of the things we did when we took over that house was clear all of the empty liquor bottles out of one of the closets in
Really?
the house.
Whoa.
Weird stuff. But yeah,
Wow.
I just, like I would get back to that doorway to go to bed at night. I never ever wanted to be the last one up at night, but if I was, I'd open that door to the front of the house and I'd peek around the corner and I would literally run down the hallway, close my bedroom door, and pull the covers up over my head.
Because those are magic. That's right. Covers over your head, protect you from everything.
Darn
So
tootin'.
you never ended up seeing him, though.
I think he was still alive, actually.
Oh.
And so no. Mm-mm,
Okay.
no.
But perhaps he had left an imprint on the house.
Something left an imprint on the house, and it could
Okay.
very well have been his energy. Could very well have been. I've been back one time since we sold the house, and I sat at the bottom of the driveway, and the people that lived there were so nice. They came out and talked to me because I think I sat there too long. They wanted to know who I was. She was super sweet. She invited me in. I did not want to do that. Felt a little invasive, but I just sat there and cried. Like tears ran down my face. But it was cool to go back.
So you said
Imagine.
that claircog is your main one. How do you receive messages from the other side besides just this quote unquote, I'm gonna use your words, knowing things?
Oh, you're good.
Do you get flash imagery? Do you hear the voice? Like, how do you receive message?
All of the above.
Okay.
So when we go through training, we identified what our dominant is, what's
Mhm.
been there with us all our
Mm.
lives, whether we've acknowledged it or not. We learn to pay attention to how we're getting information, and we practice opening the other abilities: hearing, feeling, seeing, smelling, tasting. So I've learned to open up to all of them and to utilize all of them at different times. It's just a matter of practice. So because
Okay.
I knew things regularly and I already acknowledged that, I would talk to my team in spirit and say, okay, I want to develop my hearing. So today, when I ask for information or messages, or when you have something to give me, I only want to hear it.
Hmm.
And we worked our way through all of those abilities.
Interesting. I think you're the first one that's ever brought that up on the podcast about like
Yeah.
telling, basically, if you will, kind of coaching spirit.
Right.
This is how I want to receive your messages.
Yeah. Well, it is coaching spirit, but it's asking spirit for help developing.
Right.
I want to hear
Right.
you better. So let's practice with hearing today. And maybe that's a better way to phrase it.
Okay.
Or let's practice with seeing today. And my most favorite tattoo, speaking of seeing, I was in Ireland
Mhm.
and I went to the shop and we designed a tattoo, and I was supposed to go back the next morning, and I got back to the hotel and like, something's missing from that tattoo. I don't know what it is, but something's missing. And the next morning I was walking back to the shop, and my tattoo, which is now my business logo, was literally floating in the air in front of me with the missing feature, which is the purple flame, or the transformative flame at the tip of the triangle.
Okay.
So yeah, sometimes it just pops in, but I've learned to.
So that you could
shut it
see.
down.
You could see it in your
Wow.
mind's eye.
Yeah.
So,
So-
I got a real quick question about spirit, though. I know everybody says spirit. To be honest with you, I don't understand what that means, because I want to know, is there just one? Is there multiple? Because I got to tell you, sometimes I hear different shit in my head to different people. I'm like, who the hell is that this time? You know, I'm totally admitting to hearing voices that nobody else
Yeah.
hears. But I don't ever get just one. Sometimes it's like, hey, what are you doing? I don't know. What are you doing? Hey, let's start this nut. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Everybody slow down.
Yeah, like everybody back up.
Spirit is like a collective term for me.
Okay.
It
Mhm.
may or may not be the same for everyone. I don't think it's the same for everyone. But spirit is a collective. You know, we have like a team of what's the word I'm looking for? We have a team in spirit. We have a team of
Guides.
folks that we work with. Guides, thank you. I was going to say guardians. That's not the word I wanted. I met some of my guides during some really difficult times, and they're tasked, some of them, with to help us with certain things. One of my guides showed up and made themselves known to me during a difficult time of helping my stepfather transition.
Hmm.
And that guide's responsibility was to help me with big emotions.
Okay.
So depends on who you're asking that question of. To me, it's a collective group or a collective team.
Yeah, I think
That-
mine drinks and has asked for a transfer several times, but they won't let him out of it.
Shelly's got the one where they're just sitting to the side like this the whole time. Hand
It's
in
like, hell,
head,
I'm
just
gonna,
like,
I'm
Jesus
gonna,
fucking Christ.
yeah, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna end up in hell
Yeah.
with this bitch, you know? It's
Shelly's
like-
just wearing a white coat with straps on it. So
Yeah.
I think we all have at least
Yeah.
one that's out there going, oh my
Right.
God.
Why?
Well, that's what I was curious of. Do you feel like that there is one main one that communicates with you in general? Because I don't know. If I'm just speaking for myself, I don't know how one could like do the job, but they got to have somebody to tag in with, you know. So do you feel like it's mainly just one that is kind of like your center focus that really is able to relay to you the information, or do they, like I said, do they tag in? Do they take turns in
I think
guiding?
it depends on the question. I think it depends on the
Okay.
circumstance, where I'm at, what the situation is, and like the circumstance being a specific thing, the situation being the overall. We all have a master guide that is with us our entire lives. They may make themselves known, he may not. Maybe it's a she, it's an energy. So take your pick. There is definitely one main one that shows up when I check in and connect, but it's a team meeting, as I call it.
Mhm.
So the people that I need for the task at hand show up. All we have to do
Okay.
is ask and then pay attention. That's the hard part. I fight with them. It's like, nope, not doing that. I put an old Betty Crocker for Two cookbook on the kitchen counter yesterday while I was cooking. And in my head, no, it's too close to the sink. You need to move it. And I ignored it and moved along. And wouldn't you know, 5 minutes later, knocked it right in the sink. It's soaking
dang.
wet. I should have listened. They'll remind you, hopefully
yeah.
in small ways.
Absolutely. So you were talking about how like you get all these your messages through like touch and all your other senses, your five senses.
Mhm.
We always hear about touch, smell, hearing and sight, have you ever been communicated through taste at all?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that like?
You know, when our loved ones are transitioning, they're often traveling to other places, to the other side, to kind of
Mhm.
just test the waters and things. Stepdad came home on hospice, and we were having a meeting with the hospice nurse, my stepmother, and me at the table, and he was in the adjacent room, like less than 10 feet away. And she brought meds. So I got up to give him his medication, and I walked away from his bedside, and I sat back down, and all of a sudden I'm like, where's the water? I could taste his medication.
Oh, wow.
And it happened a couple times too, with my mom. So those are my loved ones, right? That are choosing
Right.
to allow me to share their
Mhm.
experience, for which I'm very thankful. It wasn't anything more uncomfortable. But even
Mhm.
sometimes in mediumship, when I'm working with a client's ancestor or on a location, sometimes I don't taste as often. That was a very pointed experience, but I'll smell things. Those two are pretty closely linked too.
Yeah.
Well,
And so,
I'm sorry, Ryan. I was
no,
just going to
go
ask
ahead,
because
Shelley.
Ryan and you and I both have had the sense of smelling something, the baby
Mhm.
powder. When we went
Right.
there, the baby
Mhm.
powder just
The tobacco
permeated this
smoke.
room, and the tobacco smoke. And we have, I have been at a different place and smelled this very sticky, sweet perfume that was smelled by two other people.
Mhm.
And that to me seems like it's more rare. And it's rare that probably I don't think it's happened more than 5 times.
Mhm.
But that's one. Would you say that's one of the more rare forms of the five clairs or whatever it is?
They
I don't know all
support
the
they
terminology as far as that's
No,
going,
you're
so
good.
please forgive
I
me.
don't even know the fancy term for tasting, because if
Okay.
I say it, nobody's going to know what it means. So let's just call it what
Mhm.
it is, right?
Right.
I think given that hearing, seeing, feeling, knowing are the main ones everybody talks about, based on that, I would have to say yes. I think tasting
Okay.
is more
Mhm.
uncommon,
Okay.
and smelling probably is too, a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, so you would say that probably the
Mhm.
knowing is probably the most common, to the feeling one. I'm very curious
It
because
depends on
there's a
who
lot
you're
of people who say that they feel things, they can feel heaviness, and all three of us, um, we all
Yeah.
feel things. We can feel if the energy's heavy. We can feel, and there are sometimes that, like, we call Ryan our, future prognosticator. I mean, he's going to tell us what's going to happen that evening. He has this ability to know how the night's going to go. We'll just
Yeah.
ask him, how's the night's going to go? If he's like, we're in for it, I'll be damned. We end up being in for it. If he's like, it's going to be all right, or he's like, I'm not feeling anything, 9 times out of 10, we get very little. So go ahead.
I get it and I respect it 100%, but I'm going to
Mhm.
challenge it anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is for me because I want to learn something.
Okay.
I've heard it said that if you go in expecting to have not so pleasant things happen on your
Right.
investigation, you will have not so pleasant things happen on your investigation. If you go in full faith and confidence that it's going to be smooth and easy and wholly positive, then that's what you're going to get out of it. So do you think that having had that conversation influences how the evening goes at all? And I'm not saying you're wrong, Ryan. That's not my point.
No, I think you're trying to get at like setting intentions when you go in somewhere.
Yeah.
I think is what you're
Or
trying to do.
self-fulfilling prophecies, right? I
Right.
always go in going, man, this is gonna be a great night. Here we go. Come on, come on, come on.
You
I
know-
always go in with a good attitude, no matter
Right.
what
Yeah.
Ryan tells
Oh,
me.
yeah.
I'm like, I ain't scared. Let's go have fun.
Right. And when I say like we're in for it, I don't mean like, holy shit, you better be careful
It
because
means a lot of
something's coming.
activity.
Yeah, it just means a
Yeah.
lot of activity. It's like just a feeling that I get. Like I feel
Yeah.
like something is going to happen tonight. I have this feeling that I don't know what it is, but something is. We might get something big tonight, and
Yeah,
9 times out of 10.
I don't think any of us,
Right.
whenever Ryan says, "Yeah, we're in for it tonight," I don't think any
Right.
of us really go in, like
Thinking it's gonna be bad. We're in for
Right,
it. That
right.
just means a lot of activity to me.
Yeah,
Right.
I
It just
couldn't
mean
see
it.
any of you wanting to have low vibe experiences. Just
Right.
because I've met you, and we investigated
Right.
together a little bit in Broadhead.
Yeah.
So I can't see any of you choosing to have that type
Right.
of experience.
Yeah.
Well, I
But
think
it's
you watched. I think you were watching me whenever I was getting the flashlight interaction and getting them to
Mhm.
talk.
You
to
run that
this-
room like a classroom. You are large and in charge, and it's so much fun to see because
Well-
you keep things moving and you keep the people who reside there in line. You
Mhm.
keep them engaged, you keep them moving, but you're like, nope, that's not it. We're not going to tolerate that. We're going to do that this way. I love watching you work. It's
I am
awesome.
bossy, and I know that.
No,
No,
there's a
but
difference
I
between leading and being bossy.
well,
Yeah.
but in doing that, I don't ever. I always come at it from the thought of we're going to have fun, and as long as you want to have fun, I want
Right.
to talk to you, and however you choose to engage with me is fine in the spirit world. And now, if that comes through as being negative, nasty, come one, come all, come at your own risk. Come nasty
Right.
at me at your own risk.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that was something I was going to ask because even though we come in with the intention set
Mhm.
that we're going to have fun, we're going to have a good time, we're going to interact, we're going to get lots of activity.
Yep.
Sometimes, no matter what those negative ones come at you, do you feel that sometimes you can be targeted, and do you think that you actually can know whether or not that's going to happen to you?
I think that's a really good question. Um, I have had on the way to locations or just
Mhm.
driving past random buildings in towns I don't know. I just know. I get it in my gut. I can get sick
Mhm.
to my stomach. I can just get that sinking, icky, almost dread
Mhm.
feeling. And I'm like, we're not playing that today. I'm
Yeah.
coming and I'll have the conversation with him. I'm coming to your home. I respect that this is your home. I will treat you respectfully, and I expect you to treat me respectfully as well. Um, and I'm not going to say I've bumped into everything that's entirely pleasant, but I haven't run into anything that just made me be like, okay, I'm out. We're done. Well, yeah, that's mostly true. Blake, you know what I'm talking
Go
about.
on.
Don't you? No, we had an interesting third floor experience at Broadhead during
Yes.
spirits. And I don't think that was really a mean thing. There's been conversation about it with everyone since then. That was more of a protection thing. But that was kind of wonky. That was
Yeah.
different.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, because I think that
Like-
was, I think it happened. I know it ran me out of the building.
Yeah.
That same weekend,
Yeah,
and
that
I
was-
will. It also ran a couple of, I want to say a couple of other people out that weekend.
I think it
I had
did,
to go
yeah.
sit in the freaking car for like 30, 45 minutes
Mhm.
just to recollect myself because it was affecting me so freaking bad.
Yeah.
And
I
that
think
that was more
hard-
Native American, right?
Was it the land spirit that was that protects the
I think
kids?
that's what
Elemental.
it was. Yeah, the elemental or whatever that
Thank
was
you.
there. And do you go ahead? I'm sorry. Did you, what were you
No,
saying?
I had a question for Blake. Go ahead, Ryan.
No, you go ahead. What's your question?
That was do you feel like, there we go. Do you feel as though what happened with you was perhaps retaliation for helping someone else break free?
I remember kind of feeling in that moment that it had something along the lines to do with that, but I don't think that was the overall arc of it. Because if I remember correct, I'm trying to remember that night off the top of my head, because I remember Shelly was in the classroom leading people and stuff like that, and because I believe that of me trying to help in there as well, I think it was a combination like, we're just going to get this asshole out of here. Maybe not asshole, but this guy out of here. Like, we're just going to get rid of him. Because I had made a couple of comments about like what I was feeling and what I was experiencing. I was more vocal about it in that moment.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, it was just like I started getting dizzy. I started getting sweaty. And it was just like, I've got to leave the building because I'm being super affected. I was getting drained and I had to go sit in the car.
Mhm.
So did it have anything to do with helping? It could have, but I don't think that was the overall
And
aspect of it.
correct me if I'm wrong, because I was there for the first wave. I wasn't there for yours. I did see you come back in. Do you feel like it was more, I'm going to intentionally, energetically overwhelm you
Yes.
than it was anything else?
Yes. Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
curious.
without a doubt.
because-
I think it tried to do this kind of almost like energy jump, the energy dump, where it's just like,
Mhm.
I'm just going to just throw all of this out you and you deal with it however you deal with it. And unfortunately, it ended up having to take me out of the building to get out of the area and kind of back on my feet, so to speak. So
Yeah, you were gone for a while.
yeah, it knocked me out of
Darren's
commission
out
for a
here.
bit.
Darren said it ran him out of the building that night.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
So speaking of the comments, I actually have a couple of the comments that I wanted to ask you. There was a question back here about the guides. You were talking about your guides earlier, and somebody had asked the question, how did you figure out who your guides are?
I
That's,
asked.
I actually have that written down to ask. How'd you find them? Did you go, yo, show me something? Tell me who you are. I mean,
I did. I did my thing, right? Like my intention setting,
Right.
and took my vibration up, and I just asked around. I'm like, who's here? What are we doing? Or who can help me with? And the first three that made themselves known to me, they don't really have names. We can give them names, or they'll give us
Mhm.
one if we're insistent that they need to have one. The first three I met, their names all started with J.
Mhm.
I'm like, if I get another J guide, I don't understand what this is about, but that's going to be just a little much. I asked. That's
Okay.
awesome, Larry. I'm glad you're working with Scotty. That's cool.
So,
Yeah, just ask.
along those same lines, are these guides? Are they all? Did they all used to be human at one point? Or are they different entities? What are they?
That's a good question. And it's they didn't necessarily have previous physical lives on this earth.
Okay.
For me, guides who had previous lives are ancestors.
Okay.
So we don't necessarily have to have known our guides in our current lifetime. We may have known them in a past lives. Ascended masters and folks who just are wandering around up there saying, I signed up, or a soul contract where I will sign up to be one of her guardians, one of her guides.
Mhm.
I
I mean-
bet mine wishes they could rip that paper up right now.
So that would be your guardian angel, Shelly.
But
My guardian
they-
angel is pretty powerful, I will tell you. I've had three
Yeah.
different people who said something, tell me all three the exact same one that was my guardian angel. And they're like, it's not a guardian angel, it's a guardian archangel. That's why you've lived through so much shit that you have.
We have
So,
them. I've been told mine is Raphael.
Oh, cool.
and I've been
So-
told that mine is Michael. So
Yeah.
they're like,
Perfect.
they're like, Michael's got you. Don't worry about it. I'm
I
going,
mean,
is that a
you
good
can
thing? I need everybody with a sword and a shield to handle up on this.
right?
Shelley's guides and team and angels and all that kind of stuff, they did not read the terms and conditions
They didn't
or
read
the
the fine
fine
print.
print. They just signed. They were like, yep.
Now,
You have to remember, we have free will.
mhm.
So perhaps your free will decision at that time was not exactly. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Larry, Shelley says that you're his.
You're like, how did you get me into this? No, I'm kidding.
I'm your guide, Larry. Wait a minute. I need, what's that comment?
He said Larry said mine is Shelley.
I'll be your archangel anytime, Larry. Come on.
So, do these ancestors or guides or whatever they are, do they pick us at random, or are they assigned to us? Do you?
I think some of them are assigned, and I think some of them step forward based on need.
Okay.
I find that
think
interesting.
That's
find that
my
int-
experience.
So just in like all that we do and the people that we've talked with between on screen, having them as guests or at Paracons or whatnot, I've been told that one of mine is an ancestor, which is a great grandmother. And I want to ask you this because I like your perspective on this. What I was told about her is not only is she on basically my ancestral team, she's also one of my guides, and she is also representative of my spirit animal, which is she-wolf.
Awesome.
And she's Native American. I do genealogy, so I've learned a lot about this woman throughout all the years. But the lady who told me, Chris Boffman, we've had her on before, basically told me who she was. And I mean, my jaw hit the table and I was like, how do you know this? I'm
That's a
not
good
going to ask
question.
questions.
I know who my guides are. Some of my guides are, but that's kind of like not my whole thing.
Yeah.
So I would love to
Well,
know.
I guess my question is to you then on this. Have you run into other people or spirit on the other side where they're a guide representative of a spirit animal, as well as being on some type of spirit team for one person where they represent so many different areas in this person's life?
That's a great question. I wouldn't have been looking for that, number one.
Okay.
And number two, maybe I should start asking those questions.
It was the first time that I've ever heard
Yeah, it's
anything
cool.
like that. And I was like,
Mhm.
wow. And even Chris, she was telling me, she was like, she was blown away. She was like, whoa, hold on. She's like, she's here. And
Oh, nice.
she's like, this woman is powerful. You call on her whenever you're doing investigations or you need help with it. And I actually have it like on camera when I'm reading spirit dice. I will be like, give me a hey, hi, or hello so we can get started. And I said hi. And I'm like, okay, well, who are you? Male, female, blah, blah, blah. I go through my whole list of pronouns and I'm like, or give me a name. And I've thrown the dice, and right in the middle of the dice, her name was Sadie. I see Sadie. And I'm like, okay, hi, Sadie. And I used her one time when I was talking particularly to this really nasty, negative kind of guy through spirit dice. I was helping with this case up in Canada, and I was doing like remote reading for them. And he was getting real aggressive and all that stuff. And I had said, just out of nowhere, I'd never done it before. And I just grabbed my dice. I held him close. I was like, Sadie, can you please hold him back so I can please talk to this little boy that I'm trying to talk to? And I immediately started throwing him, and the little boy started coming back through. And as soon as I got the answers that I needed, I picked up the dice to throw him one last time. And I said, thank you, Sadie. That's enough. You can release him. And I threw it, and I'm recording. So this is on camera. I threw it, and in the dice, it says, fuck you. And my light dies on my camera.
Okay, then.
And I was like,
yeah.
Right.
So Blake.
Yeah.
Do you hear or do you know? It's hard to tell them apart sometimes. So it might not be a fair question, but.
Yeah, okay. So, wow, it's weird that you're asking me that, because this is only recently that I've started asking myself this question. And when I say recently, I mean within like the last, I don't even think I've told Shelly and Ryan that
You've
I'm
told
even
me.
debating. Well, I don't know if I told you about debating this question though. I don't know, because there are times where I'm sitting here in this house by myself and I'll think something, but when I hear it, or what I perceive to be a thought, but when I hear it, it's not me, my voice in my head, quote unquote, thinking it. And then I'm like, wait a minute, did I just hear that? Did I just think that? Like, what the crap, So I don't. Okay, that's weird that you're asking me that, because I don't even think I've gone in depth with these two. I mean, it's fine that you're asking me that. Don't get me wrong. Wow. I'm just basically kind of pointing out, like, I'm the only one that I think has.
They're super closely intertwined in the way that they come in, because we don't hear with our external ear.
Right.
So if we're just knowing, and what we're hearing is also in our head, how close in proximity are all those neurons? It's hard to tell the two apart. Sometimes I know that I've heard something, and sometimes I just know. And then I'm like, wait, did I know that, or did I hear it? So I get it. But that's part of the reason I asked, is because I'm like, you're hearing things. I know you're hearing things. Like as you're talking about your great grandma and the spirit dice, you don't have to throw the dice to get the answer.
No,
and I'd be willing to bet that if you paid attention to you instead of the dice, that you know what the dice are going to say.
I knew whenever I grabbed the dice and I said, are you he, she, male, female? I go through the whole list of pronouns and I go, or can you give me a name? I knew whenever I threw the dice that I was going to get Sadie. And boom, there was Sadie right there. I've done that only one other time at Yorktown Memorial Hospital. I picked up the dice on camera, and I said, it gave me, I'm with Aunt, A-U-N-T. Well, my aunt was there. And I said, which aunt are you with? And I picked up the dice and I said, if on camera you hear me go, if this says your name, I'm going to freak out. And I threw them, and right in the dice was Rhonda, her name. And I was like, you've got to be shitting me. Like, what the hell? Because I just heard in my head, Rhonda, as soon as I picked up the dice. Freaked me the hell out.
It's okay to say thank you, by the way. But I get it. I completely get it. The day you read for me at Rock Island with the spirit dice was amazing. But I was thinking you knew the answer before you threw the dice a few times then.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's just and I kind of chalked it up to maybe it was just a feeling of some sorts, and
maybe. But a feeling is fair, right?
It's so weird.
Look, she has very nonchalantly picked up the oracle cards. Does that mean you need to pull a card for Blake?
Well, I was thinking, it's here in my hand. I was thinking of saying, so Blake, when are you going to work with someone to start differentiating and really honing in on that? And the next thing in my head was right now, because of your emotional state and your emotional processes, you're like wide open. maybe not the time, maybe the perfect time. I don't know. But the card that came up was surrender to divine timing. Yeah, I know it's backwards. Sorry. Surrender to divine timing, which is because I'm like debating, is this the right time for him to do that? Is this not the right time? And it was not a conscious process. It just kind of,
Wait, you said you didn't like the word, but surrender is actually a good word because
oh no, I
once you
love that word.
surrender, you can start to write things and
Oh
rebuild.
my God.
And
Hold on.
I love the word surrender.
No, hold on. Because
I'm not good at it.
I literally, and I'm not going to go into detail on
Okay.
this any further than what I'm going to go into detail on
Fair enough.
because this is something that's very private. But I will say enough. I literally had a conversation today, have not told these two about it at all, where a person made me realize to change my mind from submitting to something to surrendering to something.
boom.
That's it.
And you pull surrender to divine timing. Like
Surrendering to something as a verb
right.
is so much more empowering than
Right.
submitting.
And that's
Submitting is
exactly
entirely
what they
disempowered.
said. And it made my thought process go,
Yeah.
whoa, wait, hold on. Like, why are we submitting to something instead of surrendering to something and allowing it to happen? That was their whole point in the
Yeah,
conversation.
submitting means more like you're doing it against your will. Surrender is like, okay,
Right.
I'm stopping any chaos, any fighting.
Right.
I'm gonna surrender and let's see what happens from here.
My heart is beating 1,000 miles a minute right now. That when I just, because it just clicked in my head when I surrendered to divine timing, and that whole conversation that I had today replayed in my head. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
I never surrender, just so you know.
That's why your guardian angel spends all their time like that.
I love that. So that's a very interesting card.
is interesting.
Anything else you want to tell us about that card, Deidre?
No, I keep wanting to tell Doug.
Doug?
Doug in the comments.
Speak Buggy Dougie?
That one of my guardian angels is Lenny Bruce. So I'm right there with you, buddy.
Lenny Bruce.
Is that oh.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. I'm sorry. It's not that I'm not seeing the comments. I just.
Oh no, you were fine.
I don't know. Is there anything else anybody wants to know? Ryan, I think we were talking backstage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the rest of 2025 for you is going to be more like Christmas was for you in a positive way.
Oh, okay.
Based on your choices and your boundaries.
Yeah.
Because you made some choices and you chose you. And that's always a good thing.
Right. Yeah, it's something I got to start doing more of. So.
But yeah, keep it up. 2025 is for you a really good year for that.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I know, Shelly. You're like, nope, yep, nope, yep, nope, yep, nope. So I'm.
What does that mean?
No.
Huh?
You said, I don't know. I'm gonna allow myself to be read. I'm maybe gonna allow myself to be read. So if I look in that direction, hey Ed, thank you. If I look in that direction, there's like, nope, and that's okay. I'm all good. That's all on you. I don't read too many.
Oh, come on, Shelly. Let her do it.
No, absolutely. No pressure. Nope, not there.
I just like to be surprised like everybody else. I don't want to know what's gonna happen.
Me on the other hand, if they're popping in, girl, let it fly.
Same. If they're popping in, let me know.
I did tell you backstage, if somebody popped in to say something to me, it's okay if you tell me. It's okay.
Right.
But I think mine know better. Like, I know what this bitch is like. I'm gonna sit back here and watch.
Like, do you talk business on this show at all, or do you want to leave that completely off the table?
Talk business?
Yeah.
Sure.
Like
I am open.
I'm open.
I am. Oh, who? Me or Ryan?
You.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I thought you were talking about the collectively.
Listen, I'm open to whatever.
Are you looking at changing, managing, or sponsoring brokers?
I do know the answer to that question.
Deidre, I just had this conversation with Shelly last night.
Love you. Like, there's a change coming. He's changing employers. I'm like, he's not changing employers because he's an independent contractor. I will just tell you, use your discernment. in that decision. It's floating around. Obviously, you're just kicking it around. You haven't made a definite decision. Sometimes better the devil you know.
Mm-mm.
You're already smart enough to ask a crap ton of questions and make sure you get everything in writing. But I feel like somebody is acting like Jello, like trying to nail Jello to a wall with withholding information or not being completely forthright or not coming forward with things in writing, but still asking you to make a decision. You know better than that.
Okay.
So when
I
that
can
starts
I can
happening,
attest
yeah, when
that
that starts,
makes sense.
when that starts happening, if that starts happening, drop back and punt. Just take a breather, give it a couple of days and see what happens. Don't push the button.
Okay.
Punt is a football term, Blake. It means to kick the ball away and take a new set of downs.
Fuck off.
Wait for your turn to play defense for a minute,
Holy
and then you can be back on
shit.
offense.
My mind is like, wow. There's
Dude,
it's
I-
like Kelly is the only
I
one.
told you when we were at Rock Island Paracon and Deidre read me, I said she was spot on about everything she said. What'd I tell you?
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out who this is for. I don't know if somebody wants to claim it. It's the Dragonfly card. And we were talking with you, Blake, about potential moves and shakes. I see you. Okay. Your purpose is being revealed. I don't know what you're shifting. You know what you're shifting, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's okay. I'll leave it at that. You know what I'm talking about. But it just, you can always choose to step further into your purpose. It doesn't mean that your guardian angel has to put their head up. Your guardian angel can still sit like this. That's up to you.
Are you talking to Blake or to me?
Hi to you. You raised your hand to claim that card.
Uh-huh.
It's funny because today I never see anything about dragonflies today. 3 different dragonfly pictures have popped up on my screens randomly. And I'm going, why the hell? I actually said, why the hell am I seeing all these damn dragonflies today? My purpose is shifting. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Part of me thinks I know what that means. The other part of me has no fucking clue. I'm
You
not even
trust the
gonna
part of you that knows what you mean, because they're telling me she knows what you're talking about. You don't have to say anything else. And it's not just based on your reluctance, but it is in part your reluctance. Part of it is your reluctance to make things public. And I don't blame you for that at all. The other part of it is your reluctance to listen to yourself.
yeah, I don't like to take my own advice.
That's the other reason your guardian angel's like, I keep telling her
Okay.
she won't listen.
Shifting my purpose.
It
very
feels
interesting.
warm and cozy and really good.
It
It really
does.
does. Yeah.
Okay.
Unlike the weather where you're at, but
Warm and cozy are usually the feelings I get. Usually it's like, oh hell.
shift. Let's talk shift. No.
There
A
you go.
shift. That's very interesting. All right. I'll roll with that.
Just stay open.
Uh-oh.
The cloudy card says, hi, Shelly. We're not done yet. Step out of your own way. Step out of your own way and have patience.
I am not good at patience in the slightest.
She
Or
not.
stepping out of your own way.
Yeah, I'll trip my ass every chance I get. Yeah. I am
Okay.
extremely impatient, but I'm supposed to be patient in shifting my purpose, correct?
Well, here's the thing. Transition sucks.
Oh, I'm not scared of transition. I like change. I like for things to change. I don't like for things to stay stagnant. I like somebody to shake that anthill every now and then. Let's see what happens. So I'm not afraid of
As long as they're
changes.
not fire ants, you're good.
No, she's the fire ant.
I know, and that's one of the reasons I love her.
Yeah,
On my
okay.
way, I'll bite you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I will. I'll bite you.
Do I ever get anything in the commenters? Doug, are you asking me if I can get something for you? Is that what you're asking?
That's
me,
Buggy Dougie again.
Come on, Speed Buggy Dougie, stick it out there. We've never done that.
We've
That
never
sounded
had
dirty.
a-
I heard it when I said it.
Doing that? That's not all up to me. Not my show.
Oh, do your,
I'm okay.
hey, you do your
It's-
thing.
If you've got something for Speed Buggy Dougie, let him know it.
I know. He just wants to know, do I ever get anything on the commenters? And now he's gone quiet.
He went
You know,
chicken.
there's a delay in the comments too.
Yeah, there's a delay in the
Yeah.
comments.
And
so-
I did see Nick hanging out there, and thank you, Miss Shelley. I didn't see his comment. I'm assuming he said something about my shirt. So yes, I am one of the mediums on the Shadow Hunters Paranormal and Investigation and Events team. I can't even say that.
We got to shorten that name.
Wow. Shadow Hunters Paranormal Investigations and Events. Yes, I did
There
it.
you
How
go.
about Paranormal Off the Tracks team?
I am submitting a story for Nick to tell.
how
Yeah.
about we not change the name of Nick Sarlo's team?
Yes, let's let Nick
Alright.
do his own changes.
That's just trying to help. Nick knows I'm just trying to help.
Doug said, sure, I'd be open. And it's funny because the card that just popped out as I was playing shuffling was, let me see if this is actually for you, Doug. Hang on. It is. Doug, are you a
okay.
thinker? Do
See,
you
we're
like
gonna have
really dig your heels in when you're making a decision and wait? Does it take you
I
some-
have known Doug since he was in kindergarten.
Is Doug a little bit more on the serious side than he may need to be? Doug, your card came up. It's the fairies card, and that card says, "Stop thinking so much and remember to play." So go play. Have a good time.
Yeah, stop
You have
taking
permission.
carburetors off and go do something different.
Yeah, exactly. Stop getting frustrated over rebuilding cars and things
taking
like
the
that.
dash
Go
out of a
have fun.
car.
I don't always just pull cards. This is fun. I used to be terrified to pull cards. Be like, I don't know.
Oh.
Doug said, "Holy shit." Welcome to the party.
So there's your answer for that. Yeah, she can get stuff for the commenters and
So, Doug, that means you have to come hang out with me more. We're just right down the street. Come on, we're gonna have to go investigate some.
Go laugh. Go laugh with Shelly.
I'll
know.
make you laugh.
Well-
He knows that.
I used to be so hesitant to read cards. Like, oh, what if it's wrong? What if everybody knows what that card means and that's not my interpretation? And now I'm like, this is my favorite.
I mean, go with it because you're killing it.
I found that to be probably the most challenging thing. And I know that there's a lot of people in the comments right now. I'm just going to put this up there. There's a lot of people in the comments right now that have questions that want to be read. We get it. We don't have time to get to everybody.
That's
So obviously you can get with Deidre after the episode to get some time with her to get. I would tell you this. Let me first say I will validate what you gave me real fast.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, and when you kept going after you said what you said to me about business, for some reason I'm going to lean into this right live for the very first time live right here. I just kept hearing more. There's more. There's more. There's more over and over, and I was like, okay. But besides that, I'm gonna validate real quick what you were talking about because I'm not afraid to talk about it live on the air. It's my choice to do whatever I'm choosing to do. Yes, there is a change possibly that might be happening in business. It is not to leave just a said broker. It is to possibly completely step back. So you are spot on with that. And the only one that, and the fact that you're like, I have not settled on it. I've kicked it around. It's exactly it. I can't decide because it's so freaking crazy that you use those words. It's better to the devil that you know, because I'm wondering right now, do I just continue to go down this path and continue to do this over and over because I know it and I'm used to it and this is what I do for a quote living? Or do I completely just take a U-turn and go the opposite direction and lean more into other things that I feel are coming my direction? So that's the kicking it back and forth. And so you were spot on with that. Shelly's the only one that I've talked to about that on anything. As well as the whole surrender thing, which I told you about. So just in those two cards right there, spot on.
We can talk about that backstage.
Okay. Okay. I mean, it does not bother me to talk about things out in the open. I mean, unless you yourself, as the person who's giving the message, feel more comfortable doing it backstage.
This one, I think we'll talk about backstage.
Okay. That's fair enough. I mean, if that's what you're feeling, then we can definitely go with that.
It's part my experience
okay.
in real estate, and it's part that message.
Gotcha. Well, and I find it really interesting, Deidre, that you were telling us about your childhood with your mom. and hearing the music and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And the way that in your early 30s is kind of when you came to terms with this opening of your abilities, gifts, however you want to classify them. I've talked very openly on this podcast about certain things that I'm experiencing out in the field, and it's just crazy how much my life mirrors almost exactly what you just said. Because I remember being, I don't know, 12, 13, sitting in the kitchen, living room with my mom, and all of a sudden I'm just like looking around like this, and she goes, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm like,
Yep.
I don't know. I just felt like somebody walked into the room, and she's like, "Nobody walked into the room." I'm like, "No, like it felt like somebody walked into the room." I felt
Like,
this literal shift.
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's odd that you just said, oh, you used the phrase walked into the room. I literally just felt like somebody walked in behind me because my arms are all chill bumped up. My whole right here,
Mm.
right beside me is cold. That's why I was like, where the hell did that just come from? I'm busy. Go ahead.
But it wasn't.
Set your boundaries. Set your boundaries.
There you go.
But see, it wasn't until I'm 35 now that really when I met these two back in 2021, Shelly
I
sideways
thought this
again.
problem was fixed.
She'll be back. She'll jump out
I'll
and
be
jump back
back.
in.
Bye.
Yeah. But I'm 35 now, and not until I met these two was it that I started to experience weird things out in the field where I would feel different energies. Ryan and Shelly put me to the test on camera, blindfolded with earphones on, and I just start telling them what I'm experiencing. Unbeknownst to me, there's equipment in the room that they have set up, and every time I say something to confirm what I'm feeling, something lights up
Validating it, yeah.
to validate it, and that's all on camera. So it's very I connect very well with your story.
When did you start opening to spirit and experiences? And I think the three of you have an amazing group energy. It's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Y'all bounce off each other so well.
Thank you.
It's really
Thank
cool.
you.
And I think like that's part of it is the three of your energies together and you and the things that you've done for yourself. Hi, Shelly.
When I started
Hi,
to be
I think
more
I have a brand new phone, and so that should not happen. I think something walked in here and checked with my phone because I don't know why it's
I
doing
got a
that.
brand new pair of roller skates.
I think for
All
me the first time that
What
I
are you
was
talking
I was really kind of open-minded to having these types of experiences was the very first Paracon that I think the second Paracon that we ever went to. When I had another one of our friends, a psychic medium. I was standing outside, never met the woman in my life at this point. We've become really good friends with her. I've helped her on a couple of cases, and she just walks up to me just out of the blue, random stranger, and she just goes, "I'm sorry, I don't usually ask this, but can I touch you?" And she's putting her hand right here on my chest, and she's like, "Can I touch you?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." And she lays her hand there, and she goes, "Whatever this is," she's like, "You got to release this because it's tamping down everything that you were able to do." She's like, "You've got to let this out." That was the real first kind of inkling of like, the hell is that about? And then I had three other psychic mediums tell me the same damn thing, not knowing each other in different circumstances and different locations and all that stuff. So
The work you've done for yourself. Yeah.
yeah.
That and there's a certain safety for you that you developed with these two very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I trust these two implicitly.
It's different layers of vulnerability in different ways, but there are so many different layers to the relationship between the three of you that enable you to feel safe enough to allow that information to come in, to allow yourself to be relaxed and calm and totally present with what you're doing.
These are the only two that I can name.
Power of three.
Yeah, these are the only two that I can name on the planet that I can sit in a room with and just tell them exactly what I'm feeling, and not be, I don't want to say embarrassed, but it's kind of almost like embarrassed.
You're not going to be questioned.
I'm not going to be questioned.
If that's what you're feeling, we believe you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a level of acceptance that, man, most of us have never really had in our lives. I mean, especially people with similar backgrounds, right? We've all been traumatized at some level. I am not saying that my trauma is any bigger or better than anyone else's. It is not a competition. But we all handle it differently. We all process it or don't process it differently, which leads to the fear of being vulnerable, the fear of being judged, the fear of whatever comes out of my mouth is going to be wrong. But these two helped flip that switch for you.
Mhm.
It's changed a lot of things.
Yeah, it's got me thinking in a whole different trajectory
It's pretty
because
deep.
of these two.
Really
Yeah.
tuned in for you.
So a question I do have for you, and you've been doing this for such a long time. Do you find that people who have experienced a lot of trauma in their childhood have stronger abilities later on in life?
That's a really interesting question. Science is working on that one. Holistic people see it a little bit differently. I will tell you that in a lot of medical conditions, childhood trauma is like ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
Childhood trauma reframes our neuro network. Well, if we look at it energetically, right? Okay, paranormal investigators, let's talk about the energy of it. We are all energy. We all have our own energy fields.
Mm-hmm.
When insults, emotions, right? When we get bundled up in emotion and our parents say, "Stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about," or whatever, right? Stop having that tantrum.
Mm-hmm.
Then our emotions get stuck. When we have things like that stuck in our system, it creates an energy blockage. So the energy isn't moving the way it should,
Mm-hmm.
and it drains us.
Hmm.
So if something sits in your energetic field, even on the outside, if it sits on the outer edges, not necessarily in you, but in your energy field, I can feel that, by the way. It creates that blockage, and it's that energy blockage that can create dis-ease, discomfort, whatever that word is that you want to insert there. So baseline, the majority of the people who have fibromyalgia are female. However, it is not a female only diagnosis, which isn't really a diagnosis, but it's a collection of symptoms. But a high percentage, I think it's over 70, close to 80% of people who have fibro have childhood trauma. It rewires everything. And then if you add into it what I call epigenetics, what some people just call genetic trauma. Shelley, you and I both know, I believe, that all women are born with every egg they're ever going to have, right?
Yes.
Where does that material come from?
I don't know.
Let's just pretend we're human and it comes from our mom.
Okay.
And our dad, right? So now we have mom's trauma and we have dad's trauma. Where did their stuff come from? Their DNA.
Their parents.
We have more
Back to
trauma in our systems that doesn't even belong to us that we're fighting.
Generational, right? Cyclical.
Generational, epigenetic, you got it. So the cherry blossom experiment, there were these scientists that took these lab mice and they said, oh, let's see if that's really true. Let's try to test that theory. So they took these mice and they exposed them to the scent of cherry blossoms. At the same time they exposed them to the scent of cherry blossoms, they gave them a little electric shock in their feet. The babies of those mice reacted to the scent of cherry blossoms as though they had been shocked at the same time.
They were afraid of the scent.
Yeah.
Epigenetics. That DNA, that fear, that discomfort, that trauma was built into the DNA and it got passed down to the generations.
That's
So
fascinating.
who can really answer that question? It's not just our stuff. It's not uncommon for people who have trauma, traceable, verifiable trauma, to be more open. But then that begs the question, okay, I had an alcoholic, narcissistic father who would have fits of anger and throw coffee tables downstairs, hands through closet doors, and put family pet and goldfish in the garbage disposal. He left when I was 5. So does that make me shut down? Or does that hypervigilance of always wanting to be safety increase my sensitivity?
Okay. Right.
Heightens
can
all
see
your
that.
senses, makes you more aware, makes you more, you probably would now, because you had to learn how to in order to stay safe. You would study micro movements, micro facial expressions, body language. You would be more in tune with that. You would have had to teach yourself to read all of those things in order to survive in a difficult house.
True.
I don't know. Would that be more of just because you learned to pay attention a little bit better, or is that because there's an ability there?
have you ever walked into a room and known when you walked in that the two people that were in the room when you walked in there were arguing moments before, but they weren't
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
when you
Oh,
walked
yes.
in the room?
Yes.
Is that energy or is that reading the room? And what's the difference?
Mhm. Right.
I ask myself
Ooh.
these questions all the time.
That's a good
Yeah.
one. Is
Well,
that
yeah.
reading
I
the
think
room
if
or
there's
is
an
that
argument
the
going on,
energy? Yeah, is that the
they're
energy they're
throwing
putting out?
that negativity into the air.
Yeah.
However, they're throwing that out into the universe. However, if I can't hear them and I am deaf, I am watching body language. I'm usually watching body language, even if I just scan the room. But I can also feel that energy. I think that has to be a combination. Because if
Yeah.
you see somebody that's like this, they're not usually not having a good day.
Probably not.
It's just body language. It's not so they're throwing any energy out. But maybe they are. Maybe that's just kind of what they're getting
No,
off.
but
Kind of like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm having a
Well,
bad day. Da, da, da.
but you
that
can
also goes
feel
back to
that.
stone
Yeah.
theory, right?
Mhm.
Sorry, Ryan, I want to hear what you said. That also
No,
goes
no,
back
go
to
ahead.
stone theory, right? The energy imprint of the event is strong enough that the stones are holding it and throwing it back and forth.
Right.
Mhm.
So if that can be applied to people sensing energy when they walk in a room, how can it not be? I love these questions and I play with them all the time. That's why I wanted to know
Right.
what you said. Amber says in her experience, it's 100% energy. Melissa says, I think you can feel the energy. I agree. And I think Shelley hit it on the head. It's a combination of both. Sorry,
agree.
Ryan, what did I cut you off? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, you're totally fine. I was saying I think it's energy because even if they aren't saying anything and they're not talking to each other, you can still feel that heaviness or that like
Or are you
uncomfortable
reading their
feeling.
body language?
I mean, not
Sometimes
even
it's just tense. If their body language is
well,
tense, because sometimes people sit up a little more
well.
straight, they hold their face a little more
Mhm.
straight. Not necessarily they're saying anything or doing anything, and maybe just their energy is leave me alone. But you're not just walking by. You can tell just by looking at someone with their microfacial expressions, the way they hold themselves, with their posture,
They're
that something isn't right.
right. I mean, I do understand that, and there is that. I'm just saying, if you walk into a room and you haven't even noticed the couple to the right arguing, you can still sometimes feel that icky, heavy
Yeah.
feeling in the air. So
Well, and
without even looking at body languages and social cues and everything.
that's where I was going to go with that next is
Mhm.
when you go into an investigation, I don't want to know the history of a building. I don't
I
want to
don't
know
either.
that before I go in.
Mhm.
So when you go in, you can still feel the energy of the space. You can feel if it's high vibe, low vibe, whatever. You get the impression and you're
Mhm.
not reading body language or micro
Mhm.
mannerisms.
That's very true.
Right.
Because Ryan can tell you, I can take you. Ryan's watched me take.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember where we were. Where were we?
Ohio State Reformatory.
Yeah, and that's a
It's
six-story
the
world.
it's the biggest freestanding cell block in the world still to this day.
And we were looking for a specific cell of someone who had set themselves on fire. We've never been there before. I don't know what it was.
I knew the story. She didn't.
I didn't because I said, "Don't tell me
Mhm.
anything."
Mhm.
And I walked past the cell and I'm like, and I stopped and I immediately went in. I go, "Do you smell smoke?" I smell smoke. I'm like, "Do you not?" And Ryan's like, "No." I'm like, "You don't smell smoke. This room smells like it's been on fire." And he goes, he walked a little bit past and over to the side that I hadn't even gotten to yet on this side of the cell. That was denoting where that man had set himself on fire in the cell. And he goes, "Damn it, you walked right to it." I was
Right
going,
to
"I don't
it.
know."
Randomly in the middle, like you couldn't have found this place if you didn't know where you were going. Just in the middle of the cell block, and she
Yeah.
goes straight to it.
I love it.
I didn't
Mhm.
know. But in that case, I smelled smoke, which is what got my attention. That's why I'm asking. That's one of maybe the 5 times I've ever smelled anything. That's why I was asking initially, how common is that? Because it doesn't have an open.
I
It's
don't
pretty
I don't
rare.
have a statistic to refer to on that. I know
Okay.
I've
Mhm.
done it a couple times. I don't know if Larry's still here, but there's a fire, Larry, at OBI that they don't talk about. See if you can find it. I bet you can.
Ooh.
I don't know. I don't have a statistic on it.
Okay.
But to my knowledge, being able to smell things that other people can't smell isn't as common, like I said before, as the other
Mhm.
big hitter senses.
So you are going to lean more to the fact of its energy. That's what you're following. If you're have an
I think it,
ability, you're following an energy for the
I think
most
it
part
can be both.
initially.
I think it can be both. I
Mhm.
don't. I'm not going to rule out that nobody's reading anybody's movements. And which sounds terrible because like I'm a psychic, right? And people are like,
Mhm.
"Oh, psychics are BS." Okay, maybe some of them are, but there are things that we know that we can't be
Right.
reading from your body language.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
I can tell whether or not I'm accurate sometimes in
Mhm.
what I'm saying if I'm asking you for validation or
Mhm.
looking in your eyes for validation.
mhm.
But if I'm in a mediumship reading, I'm probably not looking at you. I'm looking over here where spirit's showing up and hanging out.
Right.
I mean, come on. The word surrender pops up today, and I literally had
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
There was one other person, and it's not these two that are on the screen. There's one other person in this entire world that knows that we had that conversation between submission versus surrender today. And that's the card you pull up, and that's what you
Mhm.
like. Those are the words that you use.
And that wasn't even me.
Yeah.
That was the card.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can
But-
testify, like I said, being at Rock Island Paracon, there were things that you told me in our session that unless you know me intimately, you would never have known. And I was just like, had my mind blown because I was like, how the hell do you know that? You know? So,
And he absolutely
Yeah.
talked about your reading the whole time. And of
Oh,
course,
yeah.
like, Shelly, go get read. I'm like, I don't do that.
I had to
But
laugh
he-
when you sat down at dinner that night and said that. I'm like, nobody does that.
I do. I sit down and go,
And
don't
thank
read
you,
me.
Ed, for the compliment. Oh, Heather, hello.
So I want to flip it now because we're talking
Go for it.
about being, and this is from a comment that was way earlier, but we're just now kind of getting around to, but it's falling right in line with where we're at. We're talking about, it always being on. You walk in, you can feel it, you can pick all this stuff.
Mhm.
Is there, so basically the question was, how do you take breaks? Can you turn it off, switch it off, or is that something that's even possible for you?
Yes, I can. Yes, it's possible. And yes, I have to. I don't want to be talking to y'all's ancestors when I'm sitting in the nail salon, although that has happened. I did. I had to go give the message to the lady because her son was standing next to me. Tell my mom, tell my mom. And I'm like, I finally asked my nail tech, I'm like, do you know that customer? She's like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. Well, do you think she'd be okay if because I don't do that.
Right.
But the son was being relentless. So I did. And she cried and hurrah. What was your question? I'm sorry.
Can you turn it off?
Yeah, can you turn it
Yeah.
off? Do you take breaks? Yeah.
And there are all kinds of different ways to do it. Rob Thompson, in one of their episodes on Ghost Finders, you can see him turning his ring. And I know where he learned that, and I think it's awesome. I learned most of my techniques from the same place, from Diet. Establish an open and closed sign and use it liberally.
Yeah.
Put your bubble on. Do we all know about our bubbles?
Mm-hmm.
I know you're nodding, Ryan. Blake's like, what? Your shield, your bubble.
I'm always on. That's what I've been told. I'm always
too.
on. I'm always
you.
open and on. Like, yeah.
We'll
it's
wish
I'm
bad.
always on it. That's because I don't sleep.
Well-
Because I'm always on.
That's your brain. That's different.
That's part of my brain too, but it ain't always just my brain.
Okay. I teach this to almost every one of my clients. So we are all energy. We have an energy field around us. We're like big human batteries walking around. Every time we walk out in public, we leave a trail. If we're in a bad mood, we leave bad mood trails. If we're in a happy mood, we leave happy trails. Just came out that way. But so are all of the other people around us. That's why when we go out of the house,
Mhm.
we come home freaking exhausted. No, we don't like that. You can pretend it's an umbrella. You can make your bubble out of anything you want to, but step into your bubble when you get out of your car, when you leave your house, whatever that timing is for you. Just imagine yourself like John Travolta, boy in the plastic bubble. Put that invisible bubble on. You can make it out of anything you want. If you're walking into
My mind totally went to Wicked because I've only watched it like 14 times now.
if you're
I'm a big Glinda coming down in her damn bubble. Just
well, okay. So when I go to events and I have to put stuff in a swag bag, I have little bubble ones for like
Mhm.
wedding bubble ones. My
Yeah.
business card is on them, and then there's a little tag on them that says "Arrive like Glinda."
Aw.
So put your bubble on. You can make it out of whatever you want. If you know you're going someplace that's really highly charged with very low vibe energy, maybe you want obsidian. Maybe
Okay.
you want, Christina calls it or trailer hitch, something shiny or a mirror. Like if you know you're standing someplace and the person 3 tables down is talking shit about you and throwing shade, change that bubble into something metallic and don't absorb it and reflect it back out. There's all kinds of different ways you can do it.
Okay.
But that's using your own energy as your protection shield. Some people don't want to rely on that. Some people aren't aware of it. So we use other things like crystals. Well, using crystals can reinforce the energy bubble that you're putting up for yourself. It's also your intention. And it's also simply paying attention to what's going on around you. So yes, you can turn it off. There are lots of different ways to do it.
But have you ever had anything violate those boundaries that you've set
Yes.
with your bubble? And what did you have to do? Did you have to tell them to leave you alone, or did you have to like get rid of them?
I'm trying to remember which one do we want to talk about? It wasn't that bad. And the way I knew they violated my bubble was I got sick to my stomach.
Oh,
The
okay.
minute I got sick to my stomach, I knew. So I reinforced my shield, and I didn't say it out loud because it wouldn't have been appropriate, but I GTFO.
GTFO, I
That's
love it.
pissed, man. I laid that boundary down. I told them what for. I sounded a little like Miss Shelley. And boom, turn into it, because I'm not going to be soft and gentle. If you've already violated my space once, you're not going to get to do it again.
No.
Right.
No.
It's historically worked. The house I lived in Arkansas. I go to bed and I read every night, and I prop myself up on my elbows and I lay on my tummy and I read. And then when I'm tired enough, I just put my book to the side and go to sleep. Most nights, not all of them. That night, I swear to Pete, I was halfway across the room, maybe even feet on the floor before my eyes were open and I was conscious of what had happened. But one of the ghosts in that house pinched me right below my butt cheek at the top of my thigh in my sleep.
Oh,
Boom.
damn.
And I didn't get it, didn't know better. There's whole kinds of stories about that house. I left that house that night. Just boom, left. I drove 45 minutes to my parents' house. And as I drove past the front of that house, that sucker was standing in the front yard laughing at me. And I knew I'd lost the battle. I'm like, damn it, I just made the wrong decision. I should have stayed. But yeah, they cross boundaries. And sometimes just to let me know they're there, because honestly, he was a jerk. He was imposing. He made himself out to be much bigger than he really was in life. And the time that I finally turned around and read him up one side and back down the other and banished him from the house, I walked in the kitchen 15 minutes later and he was standing on the porch looking in the window.
and that, Deidre, I'm gonna tell you right now, that is something I do. If you don't come correct, I'm gonna try to come correct. But if you don't come correct and you hurt someone, you make someone sick, you something they didn't sign up for, I'm gonna yell at them and I'm gonna say, "This is your only warning." And you know, my favorite thing is, "I'll sage you the F out of here." You know, that's my favorite thing to say. It's like,
GTFO,
behave, or you're gonna have to deal with me, and you don't want to have to deal with me.
Yeah.
So most people don't want to have to deal with me. So.
And for me, it wasn't so much that they were like intentionally making me sick. It was that my boundary wasn't that solid.
Right.
My bubble wasn't very solid. And I was like, I didn't know. So when I got hit with that low vibe energy, it was like a punch to the gut.
Yeah.
No. And that'll still happen. I'll walk into rooms and be like, oh, and I'll walk back out and I'll reset and I'll walk back in. Oh, well.
You've pulled your cards again, Deidre. You were shuffling.
Yeah, I just was playing with my cards.
Yeah, I've learned that it's like a tick almost. Like if you read cards, like if you have your decks out, like I have my decks on, you know.
That sounds dirty.
They said deck out.
Deck. Yeah. It's it's kind of like a tick. We just randomly grab, like I'll just randomly grab mine and just shuffle them as I'm like working throughout the day or whatnot. Yeah, it's anyway.
How about pulling another card for Ryan?
Well, I was going to ask Blake to pull a card for me.
Yeah, let's do that.
Oh,
Blake just
Let's
wanted
do that.
Oh, you're gonna put me on the spot.
I don't have to. You don't have to. It's just a thought.
Yeah, Deidre has to read people all the time. Deidre doesn't hardly. Do you get read ever, or does it few and far between?
Blake read for me.
Huh?
I
have friends that I'll call.
Yeah.
I know. I saw that Pacific Island fire set. It's so sad.
Yeah,
or the Pacific Palisade fire. It's so sad.
I read for you at Rock Island, but it was through Spirit
It was
Eyes.
amazing.
Yeah, it was through Spirit Eyes. I will tell you. So I will say this. I'm not as comfortable with my Oracle cards or my tarot cards even as I am with
You don't
my
have to.
spirit dice. So I'm probably not going to pull a card because I'm not I haven't gotten as connected with my oracle deck as I have my spirit dice. My spirit dice, that is a whole another ball game. That is something that I'm when we're talking about these paths, which path do I take? What do I do? That is one that I'm honestly considering being able to do for other individuals, because I read 2 individuals at Rock Island. You were one of them, and I had another very profound reading with another gentleman that literally left us both in tears. When I was like, I can't do this. I'm the one reading for you. I cannot be doing this. But sometimes it just gets to you. Yeah. So I mean,
You don't have to.
I was gonna say I'm
Doors open. That's all I'm saying.
gonna say I could throw a word for you.
You can if you want. So let me ask you this though: do you get more on whatever level and whatever way you get it with the cards or with the spirit dice?
Dice.
Interesting.
The dice, because with the dice with me, the dice, I'm way more connected with these than anything. If anybody who's been following this podcast for a while now knows that I picked these up about 1.5 2 years ago at this point. And I had Shelly design this set for me because this was the one that I wanted to make sure I could make any word in the English dictionary that I possibly can, and that's what that allows me to do with using the same number of dice. I just kind of
And I warned him. I put my intention on it for him.
and
it's been a good intention though.
Yeah,
What did you do to mine?
well, it's the level. So the level of communication that I'm able to get through that. Not only am I able to get full sentences, full words, just in a couple of throws now, but the connection that I have, knowing that it's the right word and knowing what they're trying to say, where they're attempting to go with it, and I just kind of allowed that energy to kind of run through me as I'm throwing it so that they can get the words out. Because every spirit dice, and I do this for any of you skeptics out there, I'm just going to call you all out, any of you debunkers or skeptics, I put my phone on my spirit dice readings every single time, unless it is a private reading like I did for Deidre. The only person I will allow to record a private reading is the person that is being read. But anytime I read my spirit dice, my camera phone is always on my dice. So that if anybody's like, oh, no, I didn't say that. Oh, no, buddy, here's the receipts. Here you go. Let me just show you this right here. And it's been astounding, the level of connection that I've been able to have through the dice versus the cards. I do well with the cards. I'm not as connected with them.
Oh, yeah.
The dice, that is my absolute go-to.
So, Blake.
Yes.
Did you hear the words you used when you talked about rolling the dice?
No, because I was just yammering along.
I know. I have the better connection there with knowing what's going
connected
up. I know you are a knower.
Answered your own question there.
I guess so, subconsciously.
Well, we're coming to the end of our time, but Deidre, is there anything else that you want to tell us about? Anything you think we need to know? Anything like that?
I love how all y'all are just looking at me so expectantly.
Yeah. Well, no. If there's anything you think you're the psychic medium here, is there anything that we need to know collectively? That's always dangerous because I'll throw my energy in there on it and it'll go completely.
Collectively.
I'm not gonna lie. I told my spirits and my spirit guides and everything, because I love Deidre and I absolutely believe everything that Deidre has the capability of doing. I would told my people, I was like, go run and tell her this word. They haven't said it to you yet, or you would have said it.
Well, I'm not doing mediumship either.
I know, but maybe they could give you something where they can.
Well, I asked her if there's anything we needed to know collectively, and let's if there's something, or she's gonna pull a card.
So funny. I am really I have to say thank you. Thank you to my cards, because earlier today I was thinking about this. And I threw it away because it's going to sound like, and I shouldn't judge it, right? That's a big mistake for us to do, is to judge what we get. Look, 2025, we already know it's a 9 year, it's a year of completion. Things are shifting, and some things are going to shift really big. but we know this. The reason that I don't want to even try to read collectively is because everything is in flux. It's like I tell my one-on-ones, look, I can tell you what I see, but any other person involved, if they change their energy, it could change. If I tell you that this thing that you're working toward has a really strong way of just showing up and being what you wanted, that what you've been working for, it's here. And maybe there's a timeline here for you. Are you going to quit working for it?
Right.
And if
Oh,
you
no.
do quit working so hard, if you take your foot off the pedal a little bit, that's going to shift the energy. So I don't like to do future stuff. But when I was thinking earlier about, oh my God, they're going to ask me for a collective reading. What am I going to say? I don't know. And I said that to the team, and really,
You don't
I
have to.
avoided. No. Listen, it's funny because normally I would have listened to Lee Harris's energy update by now, and I would have been watching Metaphysical Maven. I'm staying away from all of that because I don't want to be influenced. But the card that popped out is what I got this afternoon. That is, look, with all of this shifting, with all of the things that are going on, right? All of the disclosure, non-disclosure, what are these lights, those kinds of things that are coming up, and a lot of other things too. Smoke screens. Where's the distraction? The most important thing that I got out of that was stay out of the fear. Stay in your higher place, stay grounded, stay focused. Don't follow the distraction. Don't fall into the fear. And the card that came out as I was shuffling after you asked me that, it's reversed. I know. Surrender fear. And I wasn't going to go there. I wasn't going to go into a collective anything. But really, I think we all do better if we stay grounded and stay focused and stay out of the fear. And you know what? That's just good advice for every day.
Right.
So
I ain't scared of nothing.
Bullshit.
Well, one thing, I am scared of one thing, but then nobody need to know what that one thing is.
It doesn't even feel like an appropriate statement, message, thought, whatever for the collective. It feels just like everyday advice. That's pretty good. But man, this year is going to be a wild ride. Hang on tight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think that is wonderful. And Deidre, we want to thank you so much for coming
Thank
on.
you. Absolutely.
And would you like to tell them where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you?
Oh, well, you mentioned my Facebook page, business page. That's Deidre and Friends. It's Shift 7 ampersand, y'all. It's not Deidre and Friends. Private group. I try to go live every Thursday night. We do some talks, we do some trainings, some workshops, and I've done readings once. And then my website is my name, DeidreLSanford.com. And you can find everything there, from reading appointments to virtual coffee to talk about holistic therapy, trauma-informed therapy. I'm working on bringing in some life coaching tools and finishing up my life coaching certification. Just reach out.
And she is a fantastic source to have because she is very compassionate, very kind. I've never been read, but Ryan has, and Ryan swears by it. And Ryan gave extremely high praise. And so, Blake, with that, why don't you tell them everything they need to know?
Absolutely. Bear with us while we do a few announcements, and then we'll get this show wrapped up. Don't forget that all 3 seasons of After Dark with EVP is currently streaming on Paraflix Paranormal Plus. That is Season 1, Season 2, Season 3. They are all out. You can watch Paraflix on Amazon Fire, Roku TV, Apple TV, iOS, and Google Play. For you audio listeners, you can use the link in our show notes, or everybody can go to our Facebook page Wednesday morning to sign up. Click on that Linktree link that will be there, where you will find the Paraflix link. Make sure you use our code AFTERDARK25 for 25% off your subscription. As an annual subscription, it's like $37.50. Also included in that link tree is our Patreon page. Our Patreon is the fastest and easiest way to directly support the show. For just $5 a month, you'll unlock over 400 Patreon exclusive videos, which is content you won't see anywhere else. Your support goes directly to the show and helps us keep bringing you these ghostly adventures and wonderful special guests week after week. And best of all, that price will never change. With your subscription, you're going to get access to the pre and post broadcast, which is the 30 minutes before and the 30 minutes after each live episode, where we dive even deeper, have heated debates, might have an extended interview. You never know. But that also includes our never before seen investigation footage as well. So don't forget, we offer a 7-day free trial on that, so you can check it all out. before committing. Come over and join us on Patreon. Be part of the EVP family. Make sure to follow us on all the social media channels. Also within our link tree, just click on the icons or search Everything Vaguely Paranormal on whatever platform you are looking on and look for that green sound wave. And to you audio listeners, you can catch us live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. We want to thank you all for your support. Every like, comment, share, and download helps keep these adventures going as well. And remember, if you have a story, a comment, or a question, you can email those to the evppod@gmail.com. That's THEEVPPOD@gmail.com.
Go like, share, and subscribe to that YouTube page. So we want to thank you guys for joining us this evening. Very special thank you to our guest, Deidre Sanford, psychic medium, holistic therapy practitioner, and trauma-informed coach. And you can find her at Deidre Sanford or on Facebook, or Deidre and Friends is her business page. So thank you guys for being here. My name's Shelley Pruitt. My partners in the paranormal, Mr. Blake Smith and Mr. Ryan Roberts. Thank you for joining us tonight. And as always, we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.